Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 630th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I'm the Clown Prince of Romulus Trust now, and I'm joined by...
Nobody cares about Remus, Kirkland Patzer.
Hey, I'm the facehugger, Dylan Moss.
I'm the ND Taylor Field.
The ND. Well, yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can imagine what we're talking about because we've been leading up to this maybe for a long time, but it definitely leads for the past few months because we start our Alien retrospective. So if you end up listening to the non-spoilers, which that's what we do here, we'll do a non-spoilers portion for about 15-20, give us our likes, dislikes, a recommendation, and we'll warn you before we get into spoilers. But if you listen to that or the spoilers, it's like, hey, I really like what these guys think about Aliens. Well, we did everything. We did the original 4, we did AVP, we did Prometheus and Covenant. Taylor and Dylan did Isolation, so we covered a bunch of it. And if you like the Predator stuff too, there's Predator retros up there. So we've covered this whole type of gamut on film as far as the space sci-fi Fox now 20th century era. And here we are to cover the newest one, directed by the great Fede Alvarez, who did 2013 Evil Dead and Don't Breathe 2016. So I think there was lots of excitement for this, and especially I remember when I sat down. I remember years ago when Fox got bought by Disney, and I told Taylor, which I'm so glad I'm wrong because we got Prey in this. I was like, oh, I think because we were coming off The Predator and we were coming off of Covenant, I was like, oh, those are good. Like, I think Disney's gonna not really touch these for a while, and even then, that's still like what? When was Covenant? 2017, I think we talked about. Yes, I guess it's still like 7 years. And The Predator, is that 2016, 2017? Does anyone know?
2018, I thought.
Okay, so yeah, 6 years, but still even sooner than I thought. But here we are. So I'm gonna let the man, Mr. Alien himself. I would end with him, but I'm gonna start with him. Mr. Taylor Field, what did you think of Alien Romulus?
I think the first and second acts were awesome. I was so into this movie. I was loving it, and visually, this movie is outstanding. Oh my god, it's just a beautiful set, and I think that the people in the team that were working on this film probably had so much freaking fun designing everything. The energy was probably just so livid there, just this the culture and just
livid
the nostalgia of just creating everything for this film. I would just love to just be a part of that. When we get to the back end of this film, I felt like it was not working for me, and I feel like there were some callbacks to specific moments in specific Alien films that I did not like a lot, and ultimately I feel like a part of me just felt like this just is like a chapter out of an Evil Dead, like something at Evil Dead, I guess. And it's like, I'm not really jiving with this. I feel like it's not necessarily like...
Can you define that a bit more? A chapter of Evil Dead. Like, what do you mean by that?
I can't say it without spoilers.
Okay, fair enough. We'll circle back.
We got to circle back to that one.
Yeah.
That's where we're starting, in spoilers.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, I think that this has definitely raised the bar after like Alien Covenant. So hopefully we get to keep going and put more Alien movies out there. But yeah, I think that it introduced a lot of really cool things, and it introduced some things that I wasn't really a fan of. But I'm not sure how fast I'm gonna be rushing to rewatch this. I feel like I still
really,
know
even
where
with you loving the first two acts that much.
Yeah, because I feel like some of the stuff we got in the first acts, like the first and second act, is stuff like that I like in other Alien movies that I could get watching those ones without having to go through and get to the third act of this film. And maybe I'm being just too negative on it, but it's just that third act really pulled me out of it, and I really didn't like it. So, but to each his own.
There you go, to each his own. And also just to... I just had it. I closed the tab. I looked up the definition of livid just because it didn't sound completely right when Taylor said they were living on set.
They're not happy.
I'll find it after. I had it. I got the specific one here, but
take that long to find. Can I just write livid?
It was. I feel like I had
angry. There
Thank you. I don't know why it wasn't coming up. I think because now my Google did an auto search of English livid definition, so I don't know. But yeah, they were furiously angry on set, Taylor says.
They're
But
pissed.
yeah, I do want behind the scenes because there was a lot of it that I was trying to see what was set built and what was CGI. There's some stuff that's obvious, but this set is like the area is so big that clearly they didn't build out this whole thing. But I obviously we don't get much behind the scenes nowadays, but I hope we get some of that because there's a lot of stuff if it wasn't sets, it looked real good, you know. So Dylan, were you livid about this movie?
I was the opposite of livid. I don't know. That might be a
Furiously
using
happy?
Angry, yeah, furiously happy. No, for me, Fede, he does it. He does it again in the way that Evil Dead was a homage and not really love letter, but it shows that there's a lot of love for that original material. But just taking that and modernizing it, I feel like that is. I mean, that's kind of what I was hoping for and expecting here with Alien, and I feel like that really is the case. There's a lot here that falls into like those same alien tropes that appear in every Alien movie, pretty much. But I think all of it is very tastefully done. None of this really feels like nostalgia bait for me. There's a couple things that I am curious to break down because I don't know if I understand. There's one thing in particular that maybe confuses me a lot, but maybe I'm overthinking it, so I'm excited to break that down. But overall, I think this is just a really great movie, a really great time. I think the acting from like the two main actors here is just fantastic, and like some of my favorite characters now in this whole series. The visuals, with one exception, are really, really great. So I don't know, Taylor, you said the visuals are great. I'm curious if you felt the same way about this one particular thing that we'll bring up later. But yeah, I had a really great time with this. I don't think I had any issues with the third act in particular. And yeah, I love the space aspects of this movie. I love the world building that like what this adds to the universe of Alien. I feel like it is adding a decent amount here, a lot to chew on. And you know what? I think the thing I'm most happy about is just to have another Alien horror movie. We talked about that going through the retro, that the first one, that is a horror movie, and then after that, they kind of become more action movies with like a little bit of suspense or a little bit of thriller elements here or there. There's certain sequences that are very scary and horror stuff, but they never really feel like another horror movie. But this truly does, because that's, of course, what Fede is great at. So, yeah, I had a really great time with this movie. But yeah, there are a couple things that hold it back from being top notch, so to speak. So I'm excited to get into those details.
Two things you mentioned there. Well, one thing you didn't mention, but it just spawned a thought. One, I don't know if it's this weekend, but this movie made me want to fire up some Starfield. Like some of the scopes and shots. I was like, man,
fire up Alien Isolation. It makes you want to go to Starfield.
No, because that idea of docking an unknown ship, that's
I'm
what
sure
I like in
there's some Alien
Starfield.
mods for
Yeah.
Starfield now.
Well, and there's even a couple we talked about in the review. There's a couple missions that I've already
Yes.
done that are very alien like, right?
Terramorphs are just
Yeah, so that's what I like about the Starfield. It's like, oh, there's a ship out there, I can land it. What's in there? You know, is an AI? Did you ever get to the AI guy? We'll talk about it on side quest. And then Dylan talked about like certain movies. Next week we will be doing, if there's any news, we'll cover it. But most importantly, we'll be doing an Alien rankings where we'll rank all the films. We'll do I think we got enough for top 10 characters, right? Between like 8-9 movies, we
We could do top 5 or
we,
maybe.
we could find a way, honorable mentions, and then some best scenes. So we will do whether it's a rankings or a rankings and news, but either way, we'll close off the retro and the Alien Romulus reviews with some rankings. But Mr. Patzer, where are you today?
Where am I
colors going
today? Is what's going on?
Nice colors going on. I like your color
I love
scheme.
the color in
Yeah.
color
Thank you.
right
The
now.
blue
It's,
and pink and purple.
Magenta, I think is what it is.
Magenta. I like it.
We'll circle back to that. No, I had very, very high expectations for this film, and I feel like most of my expectations were like on the scariness factor, what this was going to be. Like I kept telling people, I'm expecting to be like terrified in this movie, and honestly, I fell short on that expectation. It wasn't as terrifying as I really was expecting it to be. But that kind of got tossed out the window like maybe first 20 minutes of this film, because I'm like, holy fuck. Like they managed to capture the element of what really what is that first Alien movie for me. I think just minor spoiler, but like a lot of the ship tech too is like, this movie feels like it's from the 80s with like a total remaster on it. Like it like eye candy for me. Like I fucking loved I truly love this movie. I'm just gonna say that right now. I had such a great time with this. I just thought they were able to capture yeah, like all the space stuff that Dylan was already mentioning, that really was surprising to me. I think like the scale of what this movie was, I thought it was going to be a lot more contained. So that was a bit of a surprise, but honestly a pleasant surprise because we just had even more world building on, like we've had, what is this, like the 7th Alien movie now, not including AVPs.
Yes.
So like we've had a lot of movies to like expand upon this universe, but this movie in particular, I felt like I got so much more than like pretty much every other movie of like just seeing different aspects of how this world kind of works, or just things beyond just a terrifying ship with an alien. Like that was a bit of a surprise to me, and honestly it was completely welcomed. It's not a perfect movie by any means, which like of course I wanted my perfect alien movie, but I think this was a really 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 well made movie, and yeah, huge credit to Fetty
Credit to Fetty.
for this one.
It's a dad joke right there.
I don't know. I feel like I just kind of want to talk about certain story things, but no, I thought they were able to really just capture like the fear element of what the first movie was for me, and like that's one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, the first Alien. And in hindsight, like Dylan, you're mentioning like this really was a horror movie. I agree definitely, but it's like I think I was just expecting like an Evil Dead level of like frightening, and like the fear levels of what this movie is in comparison to what the first one is, it's actually pretty similar. This one might actually be like a tad scarier because of just some of the imagery and like things that you see to just kind of leave you feel unsettled. But so like in comparison to that, it's like, okay, this is just like a perfect level of horror that I want personally from an Alien movie. So yeah, in you know, like coming into it, I'm expecting it to be having nightmares tonight, but it's like now that I think about it, it's like that's actually not really the Alien movie that I truly wanted. So I ended up getting the movie that I wanted more so than what I was hoping to get. That's a weird way to say that, but
Can't always get what you want,
yeah.
but sometimes you get what you need.
Exactly, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So really enjoyed it. Oh, and just I guess last thing I'll say, really love the lead of this.
Kayla
Travis,
Spaney, man.
did you draft her? I remember
did.
her name being mentioned.
Dylan did, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
Dylan, there you go.
I think we
Atta
talked
boy.
about it, yeah.
She's
Have
fantastic.
you haven't seen Civil War yet?
I haven't seen Civil War
you
yet,
need to
no.
see that before the end of the year for sure.
Okay.
It's the
Well,
year
yeah.
of Kaylee Spaney for sure.
And even though it was the back half of last year, Priscilla, another good one. If you're an Elvis fan, that was like her big breakout. She's fantastic in that movie. So yeah,
Nice. She's older than I was expecting her to be. I feel like, especially in this movie, they portrayed her as like
What a
what seemed to be like a
statement.
minor, because she's like, never mind. I'm already talking about the movie, but she's
How old
28.
is she?
She's 20
Okay.
or 26 or something like that. I don't know. I just
Younger
thought she
than me,
was-
so she seems very young to me.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a sign you're getting old when these
Yeah.
people just look like babies. But
Anytime I just hear the number 20, it's like, ugh, not great, you know?
years ago,
Yeah.
It's over for you.
Yeah, it's over for me. Yeah, no, I kind of agree with a bunch of a mix in here where I agree with Kirkland where it wasn't as scary as I was hoping, but I don't think that's a negative con. I still had a great time and loved it overall. I'd say it's, I think for sure my top 5 for this year. So that's where I'm with Dylan. And then I'm with Taylor on the third act. I might have less problems. I don't know. With the third act, we'll wait and see. I credit Fetty for taking some swings for sure. It's odd. He takes some swings, but then he also, what is it called in baseball? It's like you take a walk, right? Like I feel like he does that, and I think, unfortunately, the first 2 acts are like, I won't say perfect, but pretty much perfect. And have the right amount. Where I feel the third act, the big swing aside, I feel like there's a lot of too many callbacks, like too many line drops, too many exact situations where I go, okay, it does follow. Aliens like has a certain tropes that happens in every movie where that'll happen. But the thing is where they're kind of almost it feels not exact, but similar to when we talked about like Halloween 2018 a long time. Now it's not as bad as that, but there's 3 to 4 moments that are just identical to other movies, and one in particular that I really, really did not like. The theater laughed and had a good time with it, so I felt like I was in the minority. But I was like, that was a step too line of like too far over the line when like South Park talks about member berries and all that stuff. Like that's what the third act to me felt a little bit. And then they do another thing that's like, okay, that's a big thing, which I'll need some time to sit on that. I can see why people would love that. I can see why people hate that. I think I'm more on the liking it side because I'm always down for people to take a swing, especially in the third act. It was being kind of just a lot of repetition. But overall, yeah, Kaylee Spaney, man, I had seen Priscilla in January. Between that, Civil War, and this, that girl's gonna win an Oscar one day. I promise you, kid you not. Unless she wants to just keep doing more of the genre stuff. But from all three roles, just the versatility is great. And then I gotta shout out this guy. Never heard of him before. I think I'd not seen anything. David Johnson, who played Andy, man. That guy,
Amazing.
holy jeez. He like Kaylee was
First
great.
name
but-
David. There you go. He's like born
Yeah.
to play this role.
Exactly. Like Kaylee was great, but David almost or he did steal the movie from everybody else for a while. I think some stuff in the middle happens where that doesn't happen as much, but man, this is a guy that right away I'm like, hey, I want to see him in a bunch of stuff. Look at other things he's done in the past. So, and all cast all around was great. There's one character in particular I did not like because it felt way too tropey. So I think I'm like everyone else here, where for me it was great. It's top 5. I think the visuals are just stunning. This is a movie that I was so happy I got to see in the theater because remember at one point this was supposed to go straight to Disney Plus and Hulu, and there's just certain space stuff that I was like, man, if I couldn't see this for the first time on a big screen, I would have just been sitting there just PO'd the whole time. So it's a stunning, stunning movie. Like for me, this is like, we'll see, but like it's like probably a lock for me, Golden Geeks, to come visual times, because it's just like there's so many different environments in just this one little area, not within the ship, just even outside. Cinematography's great. I enjoy the score as well too. I'm a big Benjamin Wallfish fan. So yeah, overall it's mostly all aces. I think that they did do a great job of tension. Fetty does a good job of that. I think there is some similar to Prometheus and Covenant, characters acting a little dumb when you go, okay, it's just like almost like other than Alien 1, it's like an Alien thing where everyone's smart and then this pivotal moment happens. They go, well, maybe I'll do this. When you would think in no one's right mind, you go, oh, I don't know if you would want to do that. But yeah, I really liked a lot of the choices. And this is one, I'm the opposite of Taylor. I cannot wait to rewatch this one. I'll watch this one, I think, quite a bit in the future. So I think Fetty, yeah, he delivered again. He's just this, Don't Breathe, Evil Dead. I'm always excited to see what he does next. But yeah, I think just one of the best guys out there as far as a genre director, and just overall just a great, great time. And I'd say like met expectations. So maybe it didn't exceed them, but expectations were high. So that's a good thing. So
Very nice.
anything else non-spoilers that we want to talk about? Okay, well then we're gonna get into it. So if you've not seen the movie, I think we all recommend it before we get there. Taylor, do you still
Absolutely.
recommend it,
I'd
even
still
if you're
recommend it.
okay?
If you're
Absolutely.
an Alien fan, if you're a horror fan, or if you're a sci-fi
AVP
fan,
fan.
go check it out as well.
I don't know if you're an AVP fan. If I check this out, yeah, I would say that too. I actually think there's enough in here that it's not like there is Easter eggs and allusions to other stuff, but it's not like you have to see this to know. Like it feels similar to Prometheus that way, where you could jump in and just go. You don't need to know who Ripley is and the
Yeah.
xenomorphs and everything. So
It's nice too because it's like it's one of those where if I'm gonna recommend any movie, it's like, well, just watch the first one, and like that's really all you need for. I mean, you don't even need
Yeah.
it, but I'm just saying, like, if you
Well,
want
even
to
in timeline, like,
accent,
this follows the first one, right?
it's
Yeah,
a direct sequel in
exactly.
a sense. Again, yeah.
you gotta watch
so.
Prometheus, you gotta watch Covenant, 'cause you gotta know
Have to
how
watch
all this
Prometheus.
starts.
Yeah. That's the tip of the iceberg right there. That's the beginning of it, you know. So, okay, we're gonna get into spoilers. So if you've not seen the movie, come back a later time, and the episode will be waiting for you. So we'll be right back. And we're back. If you didn't want to get that ad break, well, head over to Patreon. Everything you need to know is down below. You get episodes ad-free, early, and exclusive. Lots of tiers, like After 9 is happening this weekend. Saturday, 6 p.m. PST is our call-in show. We haven't done one in about a couple months, so it's going to be fun. I hope I know a couple people on the panel that'll likely join. Have seen this movie, so it's going to be fun to talk about summer movies with people. And yeah, that's our call-in show. We do 2 exclusive episodes up there. You can recommend a movie. Lots of good jazz there, and that's the best way to support us because we get we're independent content creators. So you guys steer the Romulus, steer the spaceship of which direction we go. So we appreciate everyone that goes on there. And if not, just subscribe to the feeds. It's all down below. You know, we do newscasts, video game casts, reviews, all that good jazz. So Taylor, let's circle back. We're gonna say we wanted to start there. So yeah, let's start there. We're gonna start the beginning, or the end is the beginning of the end. We're gonna go. You said the third act was very Evil Dead-y. Do you? Are you? I'm now. I think I understand because I think I speak Taylor Field. Are you just? Are you saying that the Abomination was maybe too similar to like a
Felt
straight
very
up horror
much
movie?
like a Evil Dead demon that was
Yes.
just coming out of the
Guy from
Necronomicon.
Smile.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it felt like. And I was like, man, I can see that they're going for this play here that's like an alien resurrection, and even they executed the creature the same way because acid on the wall sucks the creature out, kind of a thing. There, it just did not do it for me with this thing. And I get it. It's the black goop, and we know that the black goop can be very unpredictable and lead to a whole array of different things, as we've seen with
This is a
Alien,
modified
Covenant,
goop
and
as well too. So
modified goop. Yeah,
Rook
like,
is being like David over there. He got this stuff, this DNA, and he's just doing experiments on it. So
I was apprehensive with the reintroduction of the goop, but
goop,
I
yeah.
was open to it because I felt like, okay, this is doing something. It's going to do something new. It's going to do something different. But at the end of the day, the reason why I love the first and like second acts of this movie is because it really just tries to be its own thing and feels like it's its own thing. And when you get into that back half, that third act, I felt like, man, it's trying to be its own thing, but I also feel like they're really trying to be that bridge now between everything. It's like, I don't need that bridge. I just wanted a unique standalone alien story, which again, you could argue that this is exactly what that is, but to me it feels like it was blown up even bigger than that because we got them trying to connect the dots and be like, oh yeah, this is, like I said, Wayland died, went missing for trying to find the Prometheus, whatever.
hell yeah, that
That,
popped
like,
me. I was like, yes, for me too.
I don't mind that. I thought, okay, it's a fun mention there, but then when they were showing everything tying in at the end, it just was too much. I just just give me classic xenomorph. By the time that thing shows up at the end, I felt like, man, even the facehuggers didn't feel as scary in this movie. The aliens didn't feel as scary anymore in this movie. And it was just kind of like they were tense moments with the facehuggers at the start. But once you get through them and you get to the end and you're dealing with this abomination thing, I look back at it and thought, man, I love how the first and second acts of this movie were, but I don't feel like it necessarily has that scary factor. I feel like, okay, the aliens, the Xenos have been turned into the action-packed villains of like the Aliens movie that we got, and like even like in all these different projects, I always felt like the facehuggers were, for me, the most terrifying thing because they're there and they can get you. And while they were always present in the background here, this movie conquered my fear, I guess, of them because of how it progressed on how they were dealing with them. But the most part is I just didn't like them introducing this abomination thing at the end. Evil Dead felt like it came out of the Necronomicon.
I am so surprised to hear you say this because you are just a diehard hybrid fan. So I thought you would love this weird abomination. So you didn't find the abomination. Do we have a name for this thing, by the way? In my notes, I called it the baby morph, but I know the canon fans are not.
Offspring is what
Offspring,
his
okay.
cast. Robert is his name. The
So-
7'7" gentleman that played the Offspring.
I'd give it a couple more months and you'll get an official alien wiki name. I think I think
Yeah.
there'll be like a full on put on there,
We just
like
call
the
him Robert for now.
Predalien. Yeah.
So, Taylor, you weren't terrified by Offspring?
No, not really.
Wow.
Like for me, like when you say hybrids, like I like if the facehuggers jumping on a different species and like you got the Xeno mixed with its host, but this
This is a Xeno mix with a horse, though, right? Because it's like that's what Rook's saying is like he wants to evolve. He wants humans to evolve. So there's sometimes he has a little bit like a different of a David complex, but like the way to evolve is is becoming almost this like new type of species, right? So it is, to me, it's the closest you've seen human and an alien. Because like the thing is like the face hugger attacks a human, and then what comes out of it though is like it never looks like a human.
Yeah, it's got like 5% human or 10%,
Yeah.
whatever that.
But this
small
was the
amount is.
first time we saw like a more closer to that, right? Because it is something different. It's something unique. And I will say the face, which again, I other than AVP, I do feel like the team and Fetty really represented everything in this franchise, and I do think he is a Prometheus fan. That thing looked like a fucking engineer if I ever saw one. The head, he had the black eyes, he had the same bone structure, so I liked that as a callback because we in this continuity we are spawns of the engineers, right? So it's that kind of like full circle moment where we're spawning a new type of engineer per se, you know?
That poses a lot of questions for me as well. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be that in hindsight, I didn't really think about this before, but like, are engineers supposed to kind of look baby-like? Because, you know, I think babies, like when they're first born, like their eyes don't have all the color in them, right? And like they're bald, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like that's the idea, is that, okay, since this is like our primal ancestor, they kind of have like that more baby, like fetus like aesthetic, and I never really thought about it that way. But if not, like if this is like, this makes me wonder if, okay, are the engineers actually an offshoot from humanity? And it makes me rethink things from Prometheus, and maybe the order of events is truly different, because it just looks so similar to an engineer. And once again, it, you know, that DNA, that ancient DNA is in humankind, obviously, as is discussed in those movies. So I don't know. It's kind of like the chicken and egg situation for me is maybe getting a bit confusing here. But it could just be because in this case, I guess the goop embodied like this actual fetus, rather than like, I guess the chest bursters normally just pop out of random organs and get, I don't even know where exactly they embody from the body, but since this came from like an actual human baby fetus that was already kind of half developing,
like what would have happened if there's no fetus in there, right?
But that's what I was confused about. Like, I assumed that she actually got a face hugger, right? Like, she was in the exact same situation that everyone else was in when they found her. Like, she was like stuck up on the wall. Like, everyone that just gets abducted by an alien, you know, they get thrown on that wall, and then a face hugger comes and just slurps them up. And then later on, because even
didn't they give some exposition though about why something happened?
Andy's like, Rain is like, oh, she's losing a lot of blood. It's like, that's probably why she hasn't like basically popped the chest yet. And then like, we don't get any of that. And then later on, she shoots herself in the neck. So I assumed that it was going to come out like a hybrid, you know, alien resurrection looking thing. And then the goop just like turned it into something like
You're saying she was impregnated?
Yeah, right. That's how I assumed
Andy says
it was.
There's no facehugger carcass below her.
Oh, okay. I missed that one then.
Yeah,
maybe it was planned.
I don't think she was impregnated.
So she got fucked up by the alien, and then he was what? Just saving her for the goop? That's what I'm confused on.
I never know.
Do you mean like the alien saving her or keeping?
Well,
her
the alien stabbed her you know, with his tail,
strung her up in the wall,
takes her up, and then strings her up on the tail. Why would he not have like face hugged her? Or it's just like, oh, lucky the face hugger didn't get her.
He wants to get the other people first before he does that, right?
That's a bit of a like, okay, yeah, lucky that happened, but not really, I guess, because the goop ended up
It did seem like
being...
it was playing with its food, just in general. Like, even I was almost surprised when there was all the xenomorphs there, and they didn't just charge Rain instantly, even though she had the gun, and they kind of explained it. They're like, oh, they're scared of the guns, that's why they're not gonna
yeah, I didn't buy that.
Shoot them. And that was like, I don't know if the alien, like the 6 movies I've seen prior to this, like
we saw aliens.
Yeah.
There's like a SWAT commando
the
team.
thing is, they're always like, these are different aliens, and they
of course, yes,
differently, and you know, their DNA structure is going to be a little bit different, so you can explain away a little bit of it there. But yeah, Kirkland, Travis, did you like? I was fucking terrified of Offspring.
Oh, man.
I was cringing through that whole thing. I could barely look at the screen. I just felt like sick to my stomach and disgusted. I thought the visual of it, and like just the size, the creepiness, when like the tail is starting to burst through, like little bones are getting added to it. I found that like 10 out of 10 peak scary and like cringe and creepy. It was like all in one. So that's where I guess for me the third act really lands, because I was fucking more scared than I'd been the whole movie, and probably in all of the Alien movies, maybe. Like that was horrifying for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was probably my peak frightness moment of the film, just because it's funny too how much, like, I was such a hater of Resurrection and the whole hybrid situation in that movie. I fucking hated the design. I just was not a fan of that at all. So I'm like total opposite here, where I like the uncertainty as well when Rain takes like the egg thing, like just the womb, like whatever the hell it was in, the cocoon, and then drops it, and then is about to like ice it, and then you just see like a baby's face, and it's like, holy fuck, like this is actually a child. And then slurps down into the into the cargo area, and you just hear it like basically exiting the egg, and like you just hear some noises, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this thing gonna look like? Like, holy shit, this is so terrifying. Especially just it kind of was a callback actually to the first Alien when it pops out of the chest, fucks off, and you're like, what is this thing even gonna look like the next time we see it? Like, to capture that magic, I thought that was a really special moment. And then yeah, when when you see it in the hallway, and it's just so much bigger than what I was expecting, and yeah, like just having like the engineer like head, but it's like a really long neck, and it was disturbing. So I was a big fan of the hybrid this time around. But yeah, so that all of that really really worked for me actually. I thought the ending was going to be like basically the exact same as the resurrection, where it just spaghettifies like into space. It's like trying to get through that tiny little hole, and then it just ends up like blowing up. But yeah, I liked, I was a fan of it. I felt like it was fitting, and it was able to just like have me in that uncertainty of like, I don't even know what we're gonna see now. Like I know it's not gonna be like a regular xenomorph, but it's gonna be freaky, and it definitely was.
I think I'm mostly positive on it. I really like the engineer choice. I think it's something where, of course, all the aliens are CGI, but when you get closer to human skin, it stands out like a bit more. So it's like kind of that uncanny valley thing where sometimes it looks real, and then sometimes it's just a very shiny prop thing that I think it's the issue for me is at times I lose the, oh, I'm back and this is a movie, where I think with the aliens, when they're done correctly, it's okay, I'm in the alien world, but it's like, okay, I'm watching a CGI giant baby right now that's like alien-fied. So I'm mostly positive. I think I'm like a 70-30 on it. I think I need another watch. I think as far as like how people are going to feel about it, I think it's going to be like Taylor. I think it's going to be the most mixed thing about this, because I could see a lot of people not enjoying that, because I think if you don't like Prometheus or Covenant, it kind of leans on that a bit. And I think it's just, again, I agree with Taylor. There is a sense of Evil Dead, more supernatural, because it is a more humanoid thing, and that is kind of some of Fetty's, I don't know, not callbacks, but just some of his strengths. So yeah, I need another watch, but I think the execution of how the events go are really good. I think and I really liked her too, Isabel Merced. Like I really liked her in this movie, especially near the back half. She's knocked out a bit, but when she's having to react these scenes, not an easy actress thing to do. Where okay, you got to act, this thing's coming out of you, and you don't know what it is. But like just seeing the different egg where it came out, and it was more of a egg coming out, and then it had like layers to it, and I loved About to Go to Bed. Not a great time for them to try and put Annie to sleep or reboot. That was my one thing. I'm like, I get that he's tired, but I feel like maybe wait a couple hours before he sits down, because right away things go to crap, and that ship's crashing, and they just shoot Annie, and he's just like passed out there. So maybe wait a little bit. She was
going to hypersleep, right? Like that was the whole thing.
No, Andy the robot, they put him to sleep, right? And I just think like,
oh, you're saying like him put himself to sleep,
like wait a
in
little
a couple
bit.
hours. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Like just because like, and I was just surprised too when the shit was starting to crash, he didn't automatically wake up. It took like a couple minutes, then he woke up. But again, it's just one of those, okay, for the plot, he needs to not be, because like we've seen that before, where like David or other people, they're around for the humans, right? That's their job, is to watch. I know that's the point. He's not supposed to just be a robot, but like in this situation where it's all gone to shit, and also because she's injured too, right? The other girl, okay, like I feel like that's like, okay, not that they should know that like chest burst was basically gonna happen, but she is injured. They literally said, if we don't get you a pod, you're probably gonna die. So I feel like maybe just watch her vitals for a little bit. But throwing that stuff aside, I love the escalation of the things beeping, it saying it's vital. They pull her out. It's falling through the crates. I love that little like docking bay where it had the sand. I thought that was a good kind of set piece there. So, and I love all the build up to, it crawls and you see a little bit of it. I loved the engineer look, and like when the commenters put in there as far as like, I don't know what it was trying to do with Kay, if it was trying to feed on her, because it didn't have the same situation in Resurrection where it sees Sigourney and it's like just like gives up. Yeah, right. It's just very obedient to Sigourney Weaver, where this was not. And I don't know if it was threatening, or I don't know if it was trying to get some sort of life source from her or anything like that. But so yeah, I got to think about the look and everything a bit more. I was trying to look at the entire body, had a interesting situation going on in the pelvis region. It looked
Looked like
it
a
was
little mouth. I thought that was gonna be its second mouth for a second, but
Yeah, and it reminds me of those whatever took over the engineer in Prometheus. They have those like little
Yeah.
like sucker things there. So again, I like the design. I think it's one of these things where it's in the universe, especially it's not like someone else did. Ridley Scott did that. He's the guy that did Alien. So it's like that's to me it all makes sense. So yeah, I'm mostly positive on it. But I appreciate them doing something different. It was like what we said is the fourth time an Alien movie where they defeat the alien, they get on the ship, and then something happens. I did like this was the cause because she decided to take some medicine, but it was that trope again, and just other stuff of I get it because space, but I felt like the build up to Kaylee putting on the suit was pretty much identical to what Sigourney did. Absolutely hated the get away from her bitch line. That to me was just just too much. In Predator, I'm kind of fine with it because Predator sometimes is more comedic and it's like a winking. This movie was so serious that I just felt like, why would he say even the bitch? So the third act for me, that was more my problems. Not so much even the abomination was just I thought they're getting really into the like, you've seen Alien, right? You remember this, and I was like, okay. Act 1 and 2 I thought had the right amount. So.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky thing when we compare this to Evil Dead, which is weird. It's like, is that a remake or is it like a sequel? Like, we don't really have like a definitive answer. But I think since it does feel more remakey, it's okay to repeat some of those kinds of things more. But since this is a sequel, it's weird for characters to have like identical dialogue to someone else. And some of those other things do make sense. And I wasn't really bothered by them. I think, maybe the dialogue was like slightly over the top in terms of the callback stuff. But for the most part, I think it was pretty tasteful. And I don't know, I even going into this, I'm like, I know that they're going to get away on this ship and there's going to be something on board. Like, that just always happens in these movies. And I've kind of just accepted it at this point. So,
which, like, the third act to me is great of, like, when they're doing the whole shooting the aliens, the gravity, the acid, I'm like, oh, you can end the movie after this. Like, this is something we haven't seen in Aliens before. And that's, like, a rarity. So it's like, oh, this is top notch. You don't got to do anything else. And they wanted to, but I love that whole gravity sequence. That was very well done. Just that acid coming at you, because we'd seen the trailers, but I never put two and two together. That was the aliens' blood acid in the air. I was like, man, that would be horrifying. You take one wrong bump and your just face is just like we saw it happen to the guy earlier. You know,
the guy earlier, yeah.
Whatever his name was.
It's funny because like I really did.
There you go.
Bjorn. Bjorn, as someone might say.
I don't recall them saying his name at all in this movie. I'm sure they did, but I don't remember hearing it.
I felt like in the early portion of the movie too, I don't know if I'm just going deaf, but I'm like, I can't fucking understand anything they're saying. I know Bjorn had like a heavy accent too, but I'm like, I am so reliant on subtitles these days. That's like my one downfall when we go to movies. But
that's just getting close to 30. That's just regular
yeah,
life.
Exactly. I think I was just crunching popcorn too loud.
Them. I mean, normally
the little
give them to people who don't have.
So embarrassing.
Or something.
Yeah, sure.
You should ask.
It's a 28-year-old man. I'm asking for the fucking caption device, but no, yeah. Like as much as I like The Offspring, I still just felt like it's like, man, like I'm still missing my xenomorphs here. Like there was a couple in this movie. I think they had some decent moments. By no means is it like peak Alien though, or like in the sense of like xenomorphs really popping off in my mind. They had a little bit of a different design to them. It seemed like sometimes they had like almost like electricity going like off in their head. I don't know if you guys noticed that or if it was just like maybe a reflection off the head. Like it just shined more.
Third act, the xenomorphs just like Palpatine just like shooting lightning at Caleb.
Yeah, in the elevator shaft, the close one. With Rain and the Xeno's skull was cracked, and there's electricity sparking.
Okay, yeah, I'm not crazy then.
Going off in there.
Oh,
firing synapses.
But I get what you're saying, Kirk. It's tough. It's like the reinventing the wheel. You can, for me, you can just never top the Predalien has like some sentimental, because like, okay, that's fun. Put the Predator and the Alien together, I get it. But other than that, I feel like, and I'm fine with them taking a swing and doing a more for hybrid, but it's like, it's always tough to top that original design. And that's where it's just like, what can you do? It's like, well, we'll make like a human engineer alien type, but you always still go, oh, like, I still like that Xenomorph. But then it's been done before, right? So you're not... Yeah. You're stuck. So
yeah,
I'm totally with you, Kirkland. I think to me the Xenomorphs, this is not their best showing in terms of scary factor or cool moments factor or even like personality, because sometimes some of these aliens do have like a little bit more personality than others, and sometimes they're just like binary killing machines pretty much. But I think on the opposite side of it, I mean, one, as I already mentioned, the offspring I think is fantastic, but also I think this is the best face huggers have ever been in Alien. I think the visuals of it, like, you know, when we go back to some of those first ones, like especially like the first Aliens, like the CG or the effects that they use for that, not CG, does not hold up for me. Like, it looks awful, looks cheap, it looks really goofy. And then I think we've kind of been hit or miss with the CGI of them over the years, but I think the creepiness of them, like the little movements, they were very spider-like in this. And they were also like there was a lot more of them than usual, and you have characters like smacking them away with baseball bats, and which I think is fun, because I think it gets a bit tiring if like face huggers have 100% accuracy rate and they always instantly hit the face and always get that kill instantly. So I thought they were really, really fun in this. I feel like they were bigger too than they normally are, which gave that extra scare factor. But like that sequence we had when they had to sneak through that one hallway by turning the temperature up, so they had to kind of go through there and not, try not to make any reactions whatsoever. The creepiness, that really worked for me. It felt like a sequence out of Don't Breathe or something, funnily enough. But I really liked that, and just in general, I thought that their movements and like their numbers were really effective and really scary in this.
It reminded me of like Last of Us, when you're going through like a clicker area and it's just like you're like trying to be quiet. I don't know if it's like my favorite version of it, just because I don't know, like it's interesting. Like I feel like this is the movie where they're probably the least accurate. Like I was so expecting both of those gentlemen to just get the face huggers like right away in that water area. I think they're in like the cryo chamber room, and they're getting the fuel. I'm just so used to, like, as soon as we get a face hugger in the water, it's like, okay, they're getting whoever's there, and they both managed to make it. One of them got some face hugger limb in the mouth, but they managed to get it off and out of there, which I'm just so used to them being that accurate. So yeah, I don't know. I think I need to think about it, or maybe like rewatch to really see how I feel on it overall, because I just really love like the original. When we like see it, it's just the one, and it's like, what the fuck even is this thing? And they're dissecting it and just trying to figure out what it is. Whereas this version felt a lot more like the Flood from Halo, I think, like just how fast and yeah, not the show by any means, but rest in peace, that show. But in the games, just how fast and like overwhelming the Flood can feel. Because they have a similar creature, right? Even like Half-Life has a similar creature. I'm sure they're all inspired by these Ridley Scott's version. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm undecided, but I did think that they're really freaky, especially when it goes to the sequences of them just like all going in like the vents, and you just see like what seems to be like over 20 of them in that moment. I'm like, oh my gosh. When they're just like thawing in the early stages, I'm like, they're fucked. There's no way anyone's making it out of this movie. I'm just seeing that many thaw out. Like, no, there's no way.
I'll say I'm perfectly satisfied with both the face hugger and the Xeno. I don't know if it's like their best showing for either of them, but I'm like both like, I guess double thumbs up would sound like best showing, but just that's what it is. It's 2 thumbs up. Like Xeno, I really like the entrance of the first one. I think they do a good build up. If you think about it, also we got some of them in Covenant, but getting like a proper Xeno, you haven't really seen that since, I guess AVP 2. So I like that there is an escalation. It's not face hugger, guy gets hit, and then boom, the thing's out there. It's like you see the one break out of the one lady, and then it goes off, and then you get that big egg, and it breaks out there, and you see like the wrists cracking, and you actually see it growing. Like I think that's what I appreciated. Where in the originals, I'll say Alien 1 and 2, they have these great animatronics and these great machines, but you can't show this type of stuff where it's like moving and growing, right? Because like they just couldn't do that. So that's where I thought that's the perfect. When CGI exists for a reason, that's why it is a show. Okay, this alien come out of the egg, and you can see it literally take its form. So I think that's where maybe I think near the end they get little aliens, which I don't like, where it says, okay, Kaylee Spaney has a gun, and she's just taking these things out very easily, right? A couple shots and they're dead. But that aside, that's just something that happens post Alien.
That aimbot, man, that gun is powerful.
Yeah, I need that in Starfield too. Like helped me out a lot. Yeah, it's pretty much just that. What's that thing? VATS from Fallout. But that's where it's just like, okay, I'm not a fan of how the aliens have become squishy especially later on in the franchise, but the fact that they are. So for me, I actually really love the moment of when they got oh god, who was the semi-male love interest, but it didn't end up happening. there.
Tyler.
Tyler, yeah, when
Patreon
he gets
Tyler.
brought up, not that one. He's still survived,
The
but
doggo.
when they bring him up and he's just hooked, and you think it's already bad enough that it's one. First, he gets the mouth socket to the eye, so that's terrible. And then when he looks over, he just sees like 5 more full-grown xenomorphs climbing, and they have this great shot too, where I think they CGI'd it in later, but they look up at the well and this blood's coming down. I do think I know why they probably didn't do it, but I thought they missed an opportunity. I thought we were gonna get a shot like Nope with the house when it's like the blood's. I thought that was Kay Swain's gonna walk under and all that dude's blood was gonna be falling on her. So I think they missed a really cool shot there. But that's a moment for me I really liked there, and even the anticipation of the door again. It's xenomorph adjacent, but with him or sorry, with them or the one, her, whatever that Xeno is. I don't know what gender it's gonna be. And then Andy, like that great buildup of it's watching, and even Andy says like, oh no, they want the door to open, and it's perched there for a little bit because we know that about aliens, they can be like sometimes a bit more savvy. So it's just sitting there literally just watching like a predator, like waiting to see what they're gonna do. And then when it realized, oh, they're not opening the door, I'm just gonna skewer her. So I had, and you guys already mentioned all the face hugger moments and stuff in the vent, stuff in the water. I had standouts for kind of all of them, so I was happy with the usage of them all here, and I thought they all looked good. I know they used a mix of practical and CGI, and I think this is I could say the best looking, maybe, because in the original Alien sometimes you still have, you're limited by a suit, and then Alien Covenant they went overboard on the CGI like we talked about, right? Where it's okay, there's too much. So this to me is like a perfect blend of live action and CG aliens going on for me.
Right on.
What about you, Tay? Because you said you had some issues with the face huggers. You said in the non-spoilers.
I felt like they were just not as scary by the end of it. I think it started off scary when they were in that room. They're locked up with it and they're swimming around, going into the vents. Yeah, maybe. For me, it was when they pan to the door and you see all the fucking facehugger fingers in the crack of the door, like flipping out of that. Man, that freaked me out. That was creepy. And yeah, I like that they were reoccurring throughout. The hallway scene, that was really fun. I like that they were able to kind of conquer that. But again, their conquering of them and their upping of and defeating of the facehuggers, for me as a viewer, it was like, okay, like it didn't create that fear factor. It created that conquering factor of these things. Like, okay, especially when the guy was being a jerk, the cousin, and he's just like baseball batting every single one. And he made it like without like it just blew my mind because he was just like landing every hit. I was like, man, okay, he's really doing a good job here, which is kind of blowing my mind because he seems kind of like an idiot later on with some of his decisions. But
I guess the only thing I'll try to defend is at least the other times, most times the face huggers get someone, they might not have a prep. It's just like, what's that? Then they get hit. At least this is, they already know something in the water, and he almost gets attacked by a face hugger. So they are on the attack. Do I think he should have like maybe been home running them all? Maybe not. That is the fear you have when you have like 20 face huggers around. So I can see that critique, but at least it is like they're more on the attack, right? So
that's fair. I would have loved to have just gotten a little bit more of the xenomorphs though, because I feel like they kind of got not a lot of just visual screen time. I feel like we got quick cuts of different angles of different xenomorphs, and I feel like by the time the scene was over, it's like, oh, that's it. Like, that's unfortunate. I would have really liked, especially because we got into the hive, to get longer shots. There was one shot that was just beautiful, and I felt like it was so short. Was when they were down the hall and you see the hive and you see the one Xeno standing up and the facehuggers crawling on the walls and on the ground around it, and you had the blue floor lights too. It looked
that was a good choice.
Awesome. Yeah. But the shot ended so quick. And I hate that, and I wish that it was just extended a little bit more. Just
I think they're trying to be like
satisfy.
the original. I think they're trying, even though they have the budget in CGI, I think they're trying to do the like, don't show it too much. Yeah,
that's fair. I can respect that, but at the same time, if you like, or what is your goal? Are you going for it to still be scary? Because I'm not scared of the Xenos at this point anymore in this movie. I think
scared.
it's uncomfortable, but like, by the time we get to the point where which is awesome scene where she goes 0G and the acid blood is just floating in little cloud pockets. But when we get to this scene and she's just lighting them up, they're definitely, again, not scary at all. It felt like it was a lot scarier having one, and that moment when they were gonna like take the black goop and go into the hallway, and Rain's like, stop, do you see it? And like you look at the camera and you can just see it like moving kind of to the side in the hallway. That was scary, and I wish that we got more of that. And that's why at the end of the day, I wish that it was just a small isolated event in the alien verse, keep all the face huggers in there, but just keep it like one alien just running around with these guys, hunting them.
But then do you not just then you just get Alien again?
You do, but then having all these aliens, you get aliens, and then
you do, you do.
I'd
but
rather
that's
Alien with just the one.
That's where it's like I think they tried to do. It is tough because I think there's a combo where you got Alien, you got Aliens, you do have Alien Resurrection in there, and then just a combo of every time they're trying to make it a weapon, right? Because that's the plot we learned that they found the corpse, which was rumors that ended up being true. They found the corpse of the one that Ripley kicked off the ship, and also that one got killed, but they had enough to get DNA and stuff in there doing experiments.
They made it sound like it was alive. Like they said, like it went into a stasis and then they captured it.
It didn't need air, didn't need food.
Then they killed it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the crew that could get out of there got out of there. So it is tough, but I think it's almost similar. I think we talked about that either on Covenant or whatnot. It's like, what is there left to do with aliens, right? Like that's the thing where it's just you went the Prometheus route, and a lot of people don't like that. I don't want this stuff answered. So then it's just more adventures, and I think that's why.
And that's where they could win, though. I feel like because to me, this movie feels like a sequel or like a third part or something like that. I think it's been so long since we had that original Alien. So long since Aliens, and even then, it's been a good amount of time since Covenant and Prometheus. I feel like, okay, they could have just kept it simple, back to basics.
I still think they did, for the most part.
But like for me, again, the first act and the second act, where it was just still that one alien. And don't get me wrong, I like seeing the other aliens, but it was just the one alien, and you get the face huggers. Like it was really engaging, and it felt like, okay, this is cool. It's simple and it's terrifying, and it has a lot of the right elements for just that alien movie that we've been craving and kind of wanting. It's bringing all those good things back, and then it just
So how would you have felt if the movie ended if they didn't? Let's say they do the acid gravity thing, happy ending, and it just ends. How do you feel at the movie then?
Well, that's exactly what we have here, right? Like it ends.
I meant the happy ending. I meant the Isabel, whatever her name is, Kay, was it Kay, the pregnant one? Like none of the abomination stuff happens. Are you satisfied with the movie more if it just ends with the gravity scene, they get on that ship and they get out of there?
I would have changed it a little bit because you still had Rook kind of looming around.
But he was going to explode in the ship, though, right? He was a goner. That ship was going down.
He was still able to call the shots from where he was, though, and I feel like, okay, he could have done some things. I mean, he didn't obviously want these people to get away. He was kind of being an ass about it, but he could have directed the alien towards them. He could have opened up doors.
Well, he didn't want to do that. The alien would have just destroyed the science project, right? So that was a non grata. What do we think about that? We got, I feel like we've had it all between. Happened years ago with Rogue One when we got Grand Moff Tarkin. And I think there's been other characters that we've covered over the years. Oh, this actor's passed away, and here it goes. And I thought it was going to be an actor of note, but I did not think it was going to be like a recreation of Ian Holm, who did pass away 4 years ago. So I'm imagining his estate said yes to all this and everything, but it's not his voice and it's not him acting. So it is like the Tarkin thing where they probably have somebody doing it. So I was caught off guard by it. I think I still like it, I guess. It's not like I think it's something I need to sit on more, because you easily could have got another established actor who's like, oh, this is a new whatever, but they're trying to paint it in the realm of close to Alien, right? So but surprising nonetheless, because the theater popped for that one too. There's quite a few people, and they showed his face, like, oh, stirring in the chat. Oh, there's some excitement there. So
that makes sense. That was in my non-spoilers what I mentioned. I just think the CGI looked atrocious.
At times it did, yeah.
So bad to me, and that's the only in theory I like everything about it. It makes sense that these synthetics are made in kind of batches based off the same likeness. So we should be seeing more of the similar ones, and we have seen some of that before, particularly with David and what was it?
David.
Walter.
Walter.
Right, is the new one
Ma'am.
there, but Rook, I guess, is like the name of this model, I guess is what we're calling it.
Yeah.
But obviously not the same one as Ash. So in theory, I really like all of that, and I feel like for me too, it's like, okay, the mechanics of how this synthetic works feels very similar to what Ash was like in the original one in terms of simple directives, just like Wayland Yutani, just like trying to keep the tech alive, trying to keep the alien alive, get that information back to Wayland Yutani. Similar goals in that way, and just trying to like do it in like as conniving ways as possible. And going into this, since we kind of know how Alien 1 goes and how evil that character is, I feel like they don't really need to mess around with like, oh, this is a friendly android for a bit. Like I feel like they're kind of just from the get-go, our characters don't really trust them, don't really want to work with them, and then it's only through Andy do things get kind of change when he gets his prime directive change. So for me, all of that really worked, with the exception of the just atrocious CGI.
Yeah,
I think they could have kept him shadowed a bit more. They
Well-
made sure like the fucking just like light him up. It's like this ship is like ransacked. Like have him near like that computer station. Have it be somewhat dark. Like you don't need to like, or even
they
the computer
swapped
screen.
through like a lot of different angles, like
Yes.
camera angles for him too. And I'm like, this one looks good right now. And then we zoom in like really close, and it's like, oh no, like why are we doing this? And then it goes.
Or when
back
it's on the
to, like,
monitor, it's fine because it's like,
Yeah.
oh well, it's a monitor, so it's like it's distorted. You
I
know,
just really wanted to get close, and it looked like one of those like weird like AI like just phone app things where it just like face swaps
Yeah.
with like a celebrity
The
and
Snapchat things, yeah.
yeah, it's like, do we need to be doing this? I don't know. Like I do like that it is like I like seeing Ian Holmes' face on there, especially just thinking back to what's his character even name? Ash?
Ash.
Is that
Ash,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just going back to that original. So it was fun to have him here. With a different, well, obviously he's not the same character, but just like
Same
sort
goal.
of same goals exactly.
Yeah.
And I really liked the whole dynamic that he had with Andy and how it just totally switched his psyche. And I didn't really mention it, but yeah, I fucking loved Andy in this. Like what like a hidden gem that was. I don't know. Like I remember sort of like one of the trailers, but I was trying to go into this as blind as possible. I assumed we were gonna get an android, but like I didn't really. And they don't hide him, right? Like right early on in the movie, they showcase that he is a synthetic, and I don't know. I think this was probably one of my favorite, actually. Like if we had to do a rankings of like our synthetics, I don't know if we're doing that in the aliens, but like definitely would be up there for just kind of like the levels that he has. Like he's not like he's super. What's the way to say it? Like I love the dynamic that him and Rain had, and it just kind of fills us in about like somewhat of a family dynamic that she had like with her dad, that like he kind of set this thing up like for her, and how his main directive is just to make her happy. Like that was just a really nice like heartwarming touch without even having to like have Rain like see like a hologram of her dad. You know, it's like, hello Rain, I left everything to you, just like Andy here. And like we didn't need that because we just got that through their dialogue, and I thought that was really, really well done. And then to switch that when they're on the ship and it's like, oh fuck, now we have a synthetic that's like, you know, the
For the
directive
company.
is for the
Yeah.
company. And
Yeah.
I really, really like that switch. I liked even his behavior. It's not like he was straight evil. Like when he gets the chip, like he's like, yeah, okay, we got to get out of here. Like before the alien gets in this room, we got to get out of here right now. He's super cold, and like, you know, it's for the mission that is the company's, but like he's still like, okay guys, let's go. You know, it's not like David where he's like, oh yeah, we're going down here, and then he's like doing some fucking like buttons on the ship, and then he's going
Yeah.
down a
Something
corridor.
to see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, David was for no company. He was for himself for some reason, you know. Bad programming, so.
But Andy was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that dynamic is fun because you can kind of see the calculus going on in his head of, okay, how do I accomplish this goal the best way? And like for the most part, it's like, oh yeah, it does make sense to keep them alive. That will help make this mission easier. So even if the directive is no longer to keep her or them safe, then it's just the best thing to do. But yeah, I think to me it really worked. Like, one, the acting, of course, he's kind of playing multiple characters here, where he's doing the like twitches really well, and like he also has the creepiness factor when he's like glitching out or rebooting and like
Yeah.
throws the eyes back from that.
Guy
trailer
can't take a
shot.
punch. My God, he just gets bumped and he's down. It's just
Yeah.
jeez
The alien was
Louise.
probably confused. Was like, what the fuck's going on with this
Yeah.
guy? I'm not touching.
These things are usually stronger.
But yeah, I think it's like, it's funny because he almost has like an arc in this, but it's a very artificial arc because it's just literally the programming changing him. But he is an artificial character, so it works for me. It's like they wanted to give him an arc in the most like straightforward, by the book sort of way, and to me it actually totally works. It's not like he has some big character moment that changes him back to, working in good faith and trying to protect Rain. It's just that she took the chip out of his head again. But to me that totally works and makes sense, because it wouldn't really make sense for me if he came to some realization on his own and changed the way he
Yes.
is, because it's just not how these synthetics have shown to be. And I think it was, once again, like we've talked about this going through the retro, is they always try and do something a little bit different with the synthetics, whether it's like Ash and hiding that's a synthetic until the end of the movie, or like you find out early on, and all these different dynamics. And I think this is another way that they did it in a fresh, cool way. And it was fun to see like an old defunct synthetic, a version that is kind of discarded and is just thrown down to this random this random mining planet, and they don't really care about them. It's like, I guess that's the best we can do with this resource that we have here. But then just kind of getting that upgrade through that added module from the later models. It was just all really cool and fun, like from the lore perspective, and I think they just did a good job of like shaking up what can we do new with a synth, and I think they did a good job of that here.
Which is funny because I feel like other than really Alien 3, I'd have to like get back in my mind. And when I talk about these movies, I'm not referring to AVP as well. So just the Alien movies, like the androids and stuff, they always have quite a big role to play. One way, whether it's for or against our heroes, right?
Absolutely.
Like Ash, Winona Ryder, Andy, David, they're all very, and it's funny too because people, it's not a true thing, but people always try to connect Alien to Blade Runner because they got the, oh God, why am I forgetting what they're called? Oh, not Rodikins, applicants. Oh my God, it's something. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'll get back to it in a second. But yeah, Andy, I got no notes. All perfect, like you said, Dylan. I was really worried when she was trying to. It's replicants. That's what it is. Replicants. As they were, she was trying to get the chip out of him. I was really not wanting him to have like a character art moment where he's like, "I see through. Like you are, this person." She like tricked him of like, "Well, if you die, that wouldn't be good for the company." And like, "Well, yeah, it's a good way." So it's like he the Wayland Andy knows, okay, she's winning here, but at the same time, you can't go against that programming. So no notes. I think I particularly loved him in the first act where he's kind of has he's playing it in a way where he's a smart individual, but he's also maybe has like a child state or someone that's almost closer to the spectrum. And that's what I really liked about this. Is something we haven't seen with an android. Either they're in hiding or they're very official. Not Winona Ryder's, because I don't like, she was just Winona as like and she's a robot, right? They didn't really do anything special there with that one. But I think most of them have these personalities that are very unique, and he does again, but this is something we had not seen before. Almost it's fitting because he got thrown away because it's like kind of a broken, out of date model, and he played it that way. He even says when he gets a new program, he's like, "Oh, my joints are healing a bit better," which I think that was a lie because he just, like I said, he would take a hit and he'd be down. But but that was it was top tier. I was very invested. I love that cold line about when he had to do the sacrifice, because he was right not to open the door. If he opened the door, they would be screwed. And she says, like, "Oh, why could you do that?" And he's like, "What do you mean, leave someone behind?" And that realization, that's where he gets the artificial arc, but his arc kind of makes it that Rain gets her real arc, right? Of, it doesn't matter if he's a robot, an android, synth, whatever, I'm connected to him, and in the future, I'm not going to leave him behind. And that's why I like the last directive of, now it's what's best for us, not what's best for me. And she gets that arc through him, so...
And it even kind of reinforces, and I think this is what really terrifies Rain, is that thing that Navarro says earlier, talking about Bjorn's parents or mother, I forget who it was, who got killed because an android decided to save 12 people and at the expense of 4 people dying. And so Andy in that same moment, like, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice this one person to save you two. It wasn't really that exact scenario, but in her head,
It's close
it
enough.
like
yes.
establishes that, like, shit, Andy, this guy that I trust is my brother. I call him my brother. Is like acting this exact same way. Is a very terrifying thought. It puts you on edge. That like one simple thing can totally change this person to her, because he really is more than just a robot to her, right?
Yeah, and it's tough for Andy because he has like some of the programming of the old Andy, but most of it's being overwritten by the Wayland stuff. So it's all of it was just interesting, great stuff. I think they knocked it the park there. So sticking to that, a break, and then we'll be right back. And we're back. Kirkland, tell you have anything to say on Andy, or we're going somewhere else?
I really, really liked his character. I liked how things kind of went sideways after he got his upgrade, and I liked how when they put that chip into him in the facehugger room, his hands just go like out, and he just flips his head back. And his
He was doing the
eyes
GV
roll back.
Big sign. That's what he
Yeah,
was doing.
It's like, fuck, that's crazy.
He was, yeah.
Just down
But
that
I-
corridor, just
Yeah, he's just they gotta wheel him around the whole like on a trolley, a cart, just like he's gonna wake up any minute now, you know.
I really liked when the facehugger was crawling on the ceiling and gonna jump down. The guy's knocked. You don't want to be knocked out in that kind of a room, but
No.
then Andy just grabs the tail of the thing and throws it and gets electrocuted in the ceiling. That was pretty cool.
And then what's the character's name? Navarro. They did the same thing in Covenant where shit's hitting the fan, and she just refuses to help Rain out at the door and everything. So I was getting major flashbacks to Covenant, like, oh no, we got this character that's gonna do something stupid, and she didn't really end up. She just kind of froze. But yeah, some allusions to that great movie. Anything else, Andy, or even on Rain to talk about? We talked. Oh, go on.
One last Andy thing is that I liked his stupid jokes that he would do throughout the movie. It was just a little moment of levity. And I think it was also an easy thing for Bjorn to pick on and to drive that kind of wedge between them. I didn't love that character necessarily,
No.
but for what it is, I think that was pretty purposeful. But then for it to kind of come back in the end and lead to that moment where he makes the joke about anti-gravity, and that leads to her having that idea, I think was a really cool moment, and it really worked for me. So yeah, it was just a little element of personality. I love that she knows of the punchlines to all these jokes because she's probably heard them a million times too. So once again, just establishes their love for each other. So that's Andy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the joke portion. And yeah, it's almost like what you said you were talking about in the non-spoilers, Kirkham, with Rain. I was surprised of how much Earth stuff we got. We saw a bit, which we always know. These companies are shady, but man, what terrible move. You've worked up your hours. You're ready to go transport. And they go, oh, no, today it's moving up. And they just go from 17,000 to 24,000. It's just like,
Brutal.
she says you'll be there for like 5 to 6 more years. It's just like, imagine that thing, you're finally out, and then you're going to go buy a house, and then you go to buy, and the guy's like, no, actually it's triple that amount now, so you'll come back again. But yeah, it was nice I'd love to see what they base the environments on the outside, because we don't spend many time on planets in Aliens, right? Like in the movies, they're always ships and stuff. So I'd love to see, okay, where did they pull? Just there's like these big like yellow, or this big like buildings, but they're just like a big light, pretty much like Defoe in the Lighthouse. They're just like multiples of that. So I enjoyed that, and I think it was like, I liked the arc of, we already talked about Andy, but just she lost her parents, she wants to get this mind thing. I think it went really fast to, you meet Rain, you meet her friends, they give her this pitch, and she's gone. Not even like a moment to like think about, oh, could this screw up? It's just like she gets mad for a second, then they say, oh well, no, it's gonna work, and like, okay, it's gonna work. So I don't know if I would need more, but it just felt like a little quick in the moment. But I liked the majority of all the stuff we got with Rain as well, and acting aside was great.
Yeah, it's probably a little quick, but it's hard to blame anyone for wanting to get out of that situation at all costs,
Yeah.
even if they die in the sequence to do it. But no, I totally agree. I think that was, to me, a very fun world building thing to get, seeing this kind of mining colony and where they are. Whether it's, I couldn't tell if it was because of the rotation of this planet, and like where this mining colony is just on like the dark side of this planet and never rotates, or if it's just because like the thick atmosphere. But whatever reason, I love that little, it wasn't even a character line saying it, but it was just like the description of the planet. It was like, 71 light years from Earth, daylight per year, 0.
Yeah.
Like, not even per day, just per year, 0. I thought that was like a great moment, just seeing that the harsh conditions here. They're talking about how like new diseases get invented here every year pretty much, because people are getting more and more just fucked up. And even like that one guy walks by with a canary, and she's just like, I think that's to her a big motivator, just being like, that's pretty much what I am. I'm
Yes.
no better than just like a little tiny bird that they throw in here just to see if it's gonna die or not. So yeah, all that stuff really worked for me. And even though it was short glimpses of what a street looks like, I'm excited to like go pause those scenes and look in the background and see what kind of buildings. And I don't know, is there like a cafe or something? I doubt it, but maybe there's something in the background. I really liked all that stuff there. It was really cool world building stuff.
Yeah, no, I mentioned it in the spoiler-free section. I really love just seeing more of what's going on in this world and just the effects of, we've seen Wayland himself multiple times, but to just like see way farther down of like what his influence is of just his company. And I like just like they have like a Wayland Yutani, like, because it's just they own basically everything, and there's just like spray paint just like fuck that, or like it's just like the psyche around the company is just like they are basically the empire. Like they're just like this evil corporation, and everything that we've seen them do, it's basically that like they're trying to get this fucking xenomorph. They're obsessed with it. So yeah, I really just was, I think, surprised about the amount of world building that we got from this, and it was a pleasure. I don't even know what I was trying to say.
You just took a pleasure. Pleasure will work for you.
It sounded too short to say that, but and then yeah, like when they get on the ship and fly up, Travis, you mentioned like Starfield. I never played Starfield, but it totally just like made me think of like a fun like space adventure.
You should get on it. This will
It's
scratch
like-
that itch. I'm telling you.
Okay, I'll go buy an Xbox so I can play my Starfield.
Perfect.
But just like, yeah, this ragtag group of friends that are just like going off on this adventure, the way they like dock the station, when those doors first open and it's just like the vent, I always just think of Alien Isolation, like those
Yeah,
vents that are just
definitely.
fucking sphincters essentially. And when it opens up and it's just like,
And even like the little crank shit, dude, like get the
Yeah.
emergency power. You have to do that in the game all the time. Like hit it down 3 times for it to power up.
so all of like as soon as they open the door and it's just like you hear like an echo and it's just like, no,
Yeah.
no,
Even just
I'm
the
not,
claustrophobia,
I'm
I was
not going in there.
immediately unsettled by how narrow that corridor was that they had to crawl through.
Yeah, so I love the first act of this movie. I again, like even just like the opening credits, how they had like a similar font to what the first movie had. It just, they did such a great job with just capturing that magic of what the first movie had, in my opinion. So that was just a great like, okay, we're here, we're starting this movie, let's do this.
I just really appreciate like I said earlier, the attention to detail. Hearing all the different sounds too, like in the first, I'd even say like probably near the second or the third act, just when the pulse rifles are firing off and just the doors and everything going, like it's just so nice to hear the quality of those sounds again. I just think that they did a really, really good job. It's so visually appealing, and there's so many different things in the background you're trying to like look at and just take in, like, oh, this is just so cool. And like, it's a mystery, right? The story. And so you're trying to see if you can spot things. And there's two shots that I could remember where you kind of use your peripheral vision and something moves in the background. Which I would love if there's a little bit more, but that's fine. I enjoyed the ones that I got.
Did not care for Bajorn at all. Before I forget, I know I like that they tried to do the whole like the synth chose these 12 people over his parents. I just wish, I don't know if it was writing, directing, or the acting, or a combo of all three. I just thought they made him too generic. I would have liked him to be a bit more subtle, and he could still like make it known that he does not like robots. He's not like a Mando thing, right? Where eventually they drop that, but like he does not like droids for X, Y, and Z, right? But eventually, to me, it was always a bit more subtle in that show to begin with, and they transitioned. I wish this movie had that, where just every interaction he has with a human too, he's just like an asshole. It's just like, I don't usually, other than if you introduce, here's some bad people just get killed off, I want to not want to see these people die. And not that I'm rooting for him to die, but it's like, I don't care. And I'm almost like, in my mind, I'm like, I hope he's the first to go, so his character's not around for a little bit. Fun little reveal that he was the father of the child, I guess. So he is the father of Abomination. So there you go. You got that going on.
I missed that line.
I missed that too.
I don't. Well, I don't think it's it's not said, but when Kay, when she gets down, like Navarro, she's dead, right? And then they've both somehow fall. They both fall because the ship is moving. They both fall. I think it's the way that she's walking back and he grabs her mouth and like, she's not to calm her down. But he doesn't just let go. When he lets go, he like moves up and caresses her face and they have like this look. To me, that, and especially when what's her name? Rain asks like, "Who's the father?" She's like, "Oh, just some guy." Like, I think that they were,
asshole, she
yeah, and that would fit, right? So I think they were having an affair on the side, and
Okay,
that's what
well,
it was.
Isn't that Tyler's sister? And then isn't Bjorn his cousin?
Well, it's all fair and love
I
and
thought,
war.
what was her
Fucked up
name?
world.
Times are tough on the colony.
Navarro. What was the girl's name?
Navarro.
Who got Navarro? So she and I thought the cousin. I thought they had a relationship because
They did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're shacking.
Oh, so you're just
Nothing
saying
but-
that's what you mean by affair.
I guess I
He's
could
just
be
sleeping
wrong
with
because they
everyone.
are cousin. Then if it is, then that scene they played it off like romantically, the way they like he like had her in close, and then I guess they just have a close relationship as cousins, unless it's
they're
one.
just close friends, probably. Like really
Okay.
close. Yeah.
Or they're just fucking terrified and they're touching each other's face. 'cause
Or
they
is it
don't
like
know
a
what to
cousin thing? Like, is it by blood cousin, or is it like I have an auntie Donna, but she's no way related to me
Still
blood
fucked
wise,
up.
right?
Development cousin, yeah.
Yeah, like so. I don't know. I'll wait and see more on that. That's the vibe I was getting, especially because like just certain things. But yeah, the Bajoran character, I wish they just write a little more subtly. That felt like an 80s throwback in a bad way of, oh, this is just very in your face. This is the asshole character. And, like the moment where he did, and I guess that's how that xenomorph got the electricity, right? When he did the tasering to it. But I liked that scene, and I liked his death of just rubbing acid further and just making it worse, and just a terrible way to go. Again, might be kind of dumb that it's weird that he does that. He sees the acid fall and they give him a beat to acknowledge that, and then he's still just like yeah. So again, and it's like I wish they just didn't make him see the acid then, right? Just make it that's the first time he experiences it, that, oh shit, this is not just blood. But yeah, all the rest of the characters I really liked. Him was one that I did not enjoy at all, and that did bring the movie down for me a bit.
Yeah, and then I also Navarro's a weird one just because the most recent trailer, which I hadn't seen until I think the second time I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine, and I got the freaking trailer, and then it shows Navarro getting chest bursted in that, and I was like, okay, well, going into this movie, I know this character is not going to make it, so I feel like I was immediately less invested. But
Yeah.
I also can't think of like a really standout moment from that actor or character, and probably has like the least screen time out of anyone as well. So I don't know. I don't think I have much to say about her, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's just there to birth it,
Yeah.
Be the
There to get bursted.
Something that I thought was I don't want to say wasted potential, but I feel like a lost opportunity was the X-ray light thing that they had. Really underutilized, I thought. Like they show it off in the trailer. I think you can like see it in her chest, and it's like a big moment where like she shows on her arm, and it's never used again in the movie. And I'm like, I feel like that could have been an interesting thing to just have as a tool, where especially like later on with Key, if they're like just to check out what is going on in her stomach, if they see that it is a baby and they don't think anything of it, but it's got like a tail or something, like just like some sort of thing to play on that device, because it's something that I don't think's been in the universe up until this point, and it really is just she just has it to see herself before like the chest burst happened. So I feel like even when they did use it, it wasn't like the best moment to use it. Like it could have been used in a more interesting way. I think it's just a cool gadget that unfortunately it was underutilized in my mind.
Yeah, I feel like that's an important part of these movies, is just interesting, fun, weird tech. But yeah, you're right. It feels like one of those things that like they clearly foreshadow it when she's playing around with it first on the ship.
Oh,
and-
cool.
Yeah, and Rain is like, don't touch anything. You don't know what any of this stuff does. And then it feels weird for something like that to be foreshadowed that early on, but then also be resolved, or like the inciting event with it is like very early on in the movie as well. I wonder if there was something else that they had in there and that either got cut or didn't really make sense. She was the only character that was like using them, I guess, so it wouldn't really make sense for anyone else to use one. But yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
One other thing that you kind of mentioned there, Travis. Yeah, I didn't think about because I didn't notice the alien that had the electric thing in his head, but it makes sense that that would be the one that got hit by the baton. That human help in the chat mentioned that too. Have we seen a pod like that before, that an alien is, because we've always talked about this, how the aliens, they go from chest burster to full xenomorph pretty freaking fast.
Yeah.
We never really see like what exactly they're, sometimes we see them feeding on someone, or we see a corpse and we can assume that, but I can't recall seeing like a chrysalis like cocoon thing like this before. And obviously they went full like vagina visual with
Oh,
like
yeah.
that little gaping hole on it. But yeah, like has that appeared at all before?
Not that I
No.
recall.
I like it. I think it's a good addition. It's creepy, it's weird, and obviously it led into that good death scene with Bjorn there. But yeah, I like that addition. I liked it. It's cool.
It's like a caterpillar into a butterfly. You need another stage to get to that big moment,
Another
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Are we to? I guess are we to assume that they always do this then in every other movie when they go off screen and then they come back? Because even something like going from that baby to offspring, like full offspring, pretty quick transformation or pretty quick growth, considering that there was no cocoon quite like that. I don't know.
I guess you'd have to assume, because they just face hugged like random humans, right? It'd be different if this was the one that was the abomination. You go, oh, that's why this has this big different cocoon thing, because it's a new breed, but it's just a face hugger on a human. So I guess I imagine they do that. I think the science with all these movies of when the face hugger comes out, or the levels of how quickly it changes, it's always different. So I've just thrown it away, because I just feel like sometimes the face huggers, it just bursts out right away, or sometimes they go and get some dinner and they're hanging out, where Navarro didn't really last that long. Even though I also did like that scene where they're trying to take it off, it's wrapping around the throat, and Andy gives the whole exposition of it's matching the breathing. So that's at least something good for now. But yeah, no, I like the cocoon thing enough. I liked the exit of it as well. So, anything else in particular? I thought I had something now, but
Yeah, a couple things we kind of mentioned it. I did really like the zero gravity shootout into that sequence of having to stealth through all that toxic goo. I don't know if there's much more to say on that, but I enjoyed that. Question: was Kay jettisoned at the end? Like, was she wasn't in the cargo thing? I'm just wondering. Like, I don't think it really matters, but I'm wondering if her body is on board the ship at the
I
end.
think it is.
At
Yeah,
the very, very
I
end.
think her dead body's hanging out there. But yeah, I think it's there. She was in the loading bay there, whatever that bay was down below. So
Yeah, because presumably, yeah, if the room with the pods is still around, then so would she, I guess.
yeah, they probably threw her off board. It's gonna stink up the
Yeah.
joint. So you
'Cause
kind of
the
have
only
to.
thing I was wondering was with the
What? It's true.
with Offspring, like I think Offspring was just like feeding off her like a baby does to a mother, but I wondered in that moment if it was like impregnating her.
That's what I thought too. And I'm like, this is gonna be
again, so
really
it's like,
messed
well,
up.
Okay, the baby's still on board. Are we gonna get a whole another 30 minutes of this movie going on here? But that obviously didn't happen. But I guess it's possible they could do that if
The
they want
offspring of
with
the
a sequel.
offspring is gonna look really something. So.
I took it
Yeah.
as like she was like feeling her chest and like pulled back, like as soon as when a woman has a baby they start to produce, and in this case it was
you
just
say
like,
lactate. It's
lactate. It was just
like
like
you made it worse by saying produce.
it was just like oozy slime when she was like
Oh,
like,
yeah,
looking
it had,
at
like, that
and so
tar,
that's-
right,
yeah, that's
yeah.
where I was thinking like, okay, then yeah, maybe it is coming to feed off her, maybe her skin is turning into like
That's a good point. I
Sustenance.
thought that was just like fucking the juices that came out of her vaginal
I was
canal.
worried she was having like the alien acid coming through her boobs, and I was like, "Oh man, is it gonna like
man.
that would be the milk?"
That is
Because yeah, that's what I
crazy.
thought at first, because she was like
What a
in pain,
fate.
but that was just something. But overall, she just had a terrible fate. All her friends die. She gets stabbed. She's put in a cocoon thing for a little bit. She gives birth to this thing. This thing kills her, eats her. Like I think she easily had it the worst out of all of them. Kay, easily.
agree.
What she goes through in one
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah,
rather much
I
just
think
be
so.
fucking
I think giving
Bjorn who
birth
gets
to
the.
that thing and still being alive. Most people, the chest burster, then you're dead. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that was awful, but at least I'm dead now. But that's like, to see that is just terrifying.
That's
And also,
where I
that egg was much bigger than most children would be, so
Yeah.
even her body would be in lots of pain.
And we saw that the egg was filled with the toxic fluid, so I'm sure
Yes.
some of it got out and just singed her on the way out.
Not good.
I just think it was like obviously Rain really, really missed Andy and wanted to go save him, but I think that she should not have just sent this half-injured woman on a ship with Xenos. Like, oh, go back up to the ship, take this goop. Which another thing I didn't like was when they were trying to escape from the hive, and Andy was down, and then Rain takes Key, and they're moving, and she's still holding the black goop. Like, that was never her objective or her
That-
mission, so I don't know
thank
why
you.
she
Good
cares.
I'm completely with you too. This is something that bugged
Sequel,
me.
baby.
Because like, why? Like, she wasn't even really she wasn't really
Conscious.
conscious of like what was going on when they were like talking about the needle too, right? Like they just kind of get her up, and she just is carrying this device, like she's got Rook on an earpiece telling her what to do. Like, it just seems so bizarre that she was the one that was just like carrying this, and then eventually just grabs it and like, I'm just gonna fucking stab myself in the neck. I'm like,
They
was
did
she a
have
part
her-
of this conversation.
Well, her brother did say this would help her, right? And then that's when Andy's like, well, we share 25% DNA, so there's a chance. So, yes, but I agree with you. Is it a little faulty? Yeah, but if you are in a moment of like, I could take this and live, or I'm just going to die, what's it going to be? And she did it in the right motivations because she's doing it to help her friends, right? She could have just went in the pod, because that's what she was told. So she could have hit the pod, went to sleep, gone. That's what was it? Rain told her to do, but that was her trying to go the extra mile to help the people she cared about. Well, I'm going to take
Fair
this
enough.
thing, but
I think it was just her being like the flag bearer. It just didn't make sense to me to carry this heavy. It didn't look light. The thing of like
Yes.
the objects when she's already on death's
Is
door.
there-
It seemed weird.
I'm trying to think of like the timeline of exactly when the chip was taken out of Andy, because maybe that's the idea of bringing it with you, is so that Andy will still work with you and try and keep you alive.
Well,
or
Andy was
protect
knocked
you.
on the ground here, right?
this one he's shaking. Yeah, they still
but,
kept
but
it.
you didn't
yeah.
think he was down and out. You figured that he would still be around, presumably.
I was also just surprised in general that they kept it. I actually thought then Kaylee Spaney was going to dump it in front of Rook, like it's like a fuck you, like, oh, you worked on this, and throw it. But we never. I don't know if we got like a full answer. It's like
No, she's keeping
Kay's
it.
body. It's just somewhere on the ship, right? The stuff. So, like I said, I imagine it might be sequel bait. Which Human Help asked, would you like a sequel to this movie? I don't know. I wouldn't mind if they said Fetty was coming back, and I feel like the way they have the speech at the end of like, I don't know why he'd be like, oh, we're going on this adventure and who knows what's out there. But it's like, well, I feel like hopefully after you've fought these aliens, nothing else is out there. Like, it's not a world where you're always, it's not Star Wars where you're bumping into things all the time. So I felt like between her little speech there and them having that stuff and Andy being alive, that could be the case. But who knows? Maybe the sequel picks up and she's in a cave she's been experimented on for years. And like, oh, that's the end of Rain's story. And, we've been there before. But I don't know. I'm in a weird spot because it's kind of like I think it gets too close to Ripley again. I like it as a one-off. It's like the same thing as like if people know this franchise, like Die Hard. The first one is John McClane. He's just a regular cop that happens to bump into a terrorist situation. Then there's 4 other movies where he just happens to keep bumping into terrorist situations. And you're eventually, okay, how many times can this cop do this? And I feel like that'd be the same way with Rain. If for some reason she gets brought back in Aliens, it's like, well, that's literally just Ripley again. So I would like more Alien stuff, even if it was Fetty doing it, but I don't know if I would need a continuation of these characters per se. I'm happy for them just to get a semi-happy ending,
Yeah, considering how much not a fan I am of Aliens 3 or Resurrected, it makes me worried that if we're kind of going down, like, considering this the remake, even though it's a sequel still, a remake, and like following in those footsteps, like, yes, I do want, I like Kaylee Spaney. I'd love for her to stick around and do more. But like, I kind of want her to go do other stuff, and I think I want Fede to go do something else as well, rather than another Alien thing. Even if we did get a sequel, I think I'd want someone else on it, just because I want him to go do.
Rumor is Marvel's after him. That's the hot rumor right now. So
Yeah, cool.
Feige saw this, and
I don't even. Think
is
I
it
want-
though? No, I don't know if I
think
want
really
that.
I
Yeah,
guess I'll take it, but I don't want him to get locked.
unless
into
they
doing
just
a
they
trilogy or something.
Yeah, unless they just sat him down and said, "Hey, you're gonna make Midnight Suns, and we're just gonna let you rip. We're really not
Give
we're,
him Doctor Strange 3. Hell yeah,
or Blade even. Just let him do."
Oh.
But like for me with Fetty, it has to be like you kind of gotta let him do his stuff. I don't want like it's a studio movie, but I don't want like director mandated Fetty Alvarez, And I just don't like. Yeah, honestly, like people might not like to hear this, but like I think if he had to pick a comic book route, DC would be better because I feel like Gunn would get his like weirdisms more than a Feige would, right? Like I don't look at Fetty. I get why they might want him, right? Because this movie's getting good critical reviews. He's had lots of good movies, but I don't look at this, Don't Breathe, and Evil Dead and be like, oh, that's an MCU director. Like I don't think that at all. I think he'd be too chained up, but you never know.
What else? One thing we kind of mentioned, but not really, is I just loved the space elements of this because we've talked about that through the retro. That some of these you kind of forget they even take place in space at times, or even in the early ones, just with budget or just special effects limitations. You'll get like very limited shots of a spaceship flying around. But I really liked what we got here. Like when we exit the planet just into space there, seeing the rings for the first time. It was in the trailer, but it was still to see it on the big screen. I thought looked really, really cool. I liked all the stuff of like the spaceship kind of having to dock and undock again and again, and just seeing these shots from the exterior of the Romulus Remus ship here, and then just the concept of this meteor ring around this being like an inherent timer of how long they have on this mission before it just crashes into this ring, I think is a really fun like space sci-fi idea that I can't think of another time I've like seen that before. And for me that really worked. And once like the ship gets hit and then it like takes that timer from whatever
So
it was
cool.
72 hours down to like 40 minutes is just, it's just amazing. And then when we're actually getting that sequence at the end where the Romulus is crashing into it and just slowly burning away, and that's when Rook gets destroyed there, and then our people's ship is starting to fall back into it. All that stuff I think looked really cool. It was really fun sci-fi.
It visually
It was
looked
just
good
beautiful.
too. Like I feel like we've seen sequences like that before, and we're like, oh, like the budget got stretched way too thin here. But
Yeah.
it all looked good. Like there was maybe a few moments where Kay Spinney like in the outfit, you can see a little bit, but like no, it like was stunning stuff. So yeah. Well, let's take our final ad break, and we'll probably get into some final notes, final thoughts, and ratings. We'll be right back. And we're back. I think I have used up all my notes or biggest talking points for myself.
I got one more con for me when
No, we're out of cons.
Cons.
You get two per
Rain
cast.
was climbing up the ladder in the elevator
right.
shaft. She was chasing after Andy, and then the gravity shuts off and she falls. Andy. And when she falls, a xenomorph catches her. This is the one with the electrical skull.
Which would just break her back entirely.
Well,
she would
that's
snap.
too Gwen
Yeah,
Stacy,
she would
but-
be paralyzed in real life, but of course it's a movie. you know.
Cushioned
That-
her, right? It was like perfect. He's a perfect
The
specimen.
rate she's falling in that tail, no man, that's like the whiplash. Oh,
The scene went just too long, and for the sense like I couldn't tell what the intentions of the xenomorph were, because there were other ones that were racing up down below, but this one like put her and set her down, and I started to think like, man, did Key like turn into this alien from the black goop and is like on their side now? Like
I'm glad
it
that
was-
didn't happen.
It was
Fuck.
such a
imagine?
long scene that I really wasn't able to figure out what was going on. And I think at the end of it, they were trying to set up the fact that, okay, this Xeno, even when the elevator shot down and then the Xeno like pops its head back and it's like, okay, it's still just the two of them. The Xeno wanted to keep her so that the facehugger could jump onto her and impregnate her, I guess. But it was just done in a weird way. Like the alien felt just like the hero in the sense. I feel like I would have loved it if the alien like didn't put her down with the tail, but like grabbed her and was holding her against the wall and like then like looking at the facehugger crawling over. It just felt too friendly. It felt like good guy Xeno, which is just really, really was weird. So
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I didn't think it was friendly. I just didn't love it. I wish there was a different way. Just throw a net there. I thought Andy was gonna make the sacrifice play there and do something where he was gonna somehow propel her to the side, and then he fell, and he still got up there. So yeah, I don't know. There was just, it's like they wanted this cool set piece of her falling down the shaft, but they didn't know. I was like, well, what if the alien catches her? It's like, all right. Then I feel like if it catches her though, it should be like a catch automatically, then catch attack, a catch face hugger, not like a put it down. Maybe that's some like what we were talking about earlier, like some of their personalities. I guess this one was a little bit wanted to see what's going on, but yeah, it's just a little awkward. I think.
I didn't mind it. I took it in the sense of like she's falling to her doom, and then she gets catched by something, but it's like, fuck, I wish I was falling. You know, like I wish I just died from the impact of the fall, let alone get caught by a xenomorph, and then his buddy face hugger Magoo over here is gonna come in here and finish me off. I don't know. That's kind of how I took it, and it wasn't that long of a sequence in when I'm thinking back on it, but maybe it was. I don't know. It didn't play that bad.
Anything else specifically?
Kirkland, you got any more notes over there?
I was kind of surprised overall how many xenomorphs we had, like, because we only really see. I mean, we don't get a lot of like body shots of the xenomorphs overall in the movie, but it's mostly just like the one we see, and then when I think it's the sequence when Tyler gets propelled up in the air by the one, and then he looks over and there's just like 3 running at him. It's like, holy fuck, like their numbers just like multiplied up the yin yang, and it was weird because there were some moments that made me think of like Aliens when I guess specifically when Rain is raining pain on the xenomorphs when she hits the gravity, and that's when you get the nice zero gravity acid pirouette she's doing, dodging that. But like other than that, there's not a lot of like moments I think with multiple xenomorphs in the movie, so it felt like there was a lack of xenomorphs, even though I know there was quite a few in there in some weird way. So I don't know if it's really a con. It's just like an observation I have, and definitely on another viewing, I think I'll just have a better idea of how I'm feeling on that. It was just surprising, I think, to see that many, pardon me, when we do see them. And then, yeah, they just kind of just float away with bullets to their brains, I guess. And,
Yeah. Not the way you want to float
sweet
away.
gun, though. I will shout that out.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of already talked about it with the auto aim and everything, but just cool little like gear up moment too. I liked how like Tyler's like, yeah, you do this, get on your shoulder, you got auto aim, and then Andy's like, yeah, you're not gonna want to use that like at all.
Yeah.
Again, like kind of similar to it was Aliens, right? When they're like, we got to take all your guns away, you can't shoot in there. So I kind of agree with what you said, Travis. How it felt like this movie was able to capture a lot of like elements out of pretty much all of the Alien movies, like specifically the Alien movies, which I do appreciate, especially that we're, went through the retro, so they're fresh in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple other things like that. One from the first Alien, and then these appear all over Alien Isolation, is like that little bird water dipper thing. I don't know what you call that, but it was at the beginning when Rain and Andy were just having a meal is at their table there. So that was a funny little thing there. And then we kind of talked about this, but not really a lot, is just the score, which I thought was really fantastic in this movie. Of course, gets all the suspense, intense, horror, scary stuff straight. Gets it straight. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Gets it right. But then I also feel like some of the stuff, particularly the space sequences, really kind of harken back to that Goldsmith type of tone that he has that really just is so unique and interesting. I can't even describe it. It's just something totally unique for a movie like this. And so I kind of like that. It felt like a callback, but still like tasteful and new at the same time. So yeah, score was very good. Very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's done a lot. I can't remember if he was on Blade Runner, but my favorite score of his, he did the It with Machete there, and I really like his It stuff. So
There's all my notes.
yeah, Taylor, final thoughts and a rating over there.
Final thoughts. I went in with expectations just being a little bit higher, and I think maybe that's my own fault, because I was thinking like, oh, it's Fede, and we got Evil Dead, yeah, and Don't Breathe, and there's a certain expectation going into this that I was looking forward to. And while I will stand by that first and second act, like visually everything in this movie is fantastic. The story beats in those first 2 acts are fantastic. I love it. And it just is nice to get a little bit more of a new light on just the world building vibe that this movie presents in this universe with Weyland-Yutani, and just more of like the civilian life on this colonized planet and a lot of those little things. And yeah, just the attention to detail and just getting to see the practical effects of the Xenos was cool. But the third act just does pull me out a bit, and maybe it's just because I'm not a big fan of just the. It felt like Resurrection. It felt like it combined the stuff that I'm not really big on from the Prometheus and Covenant movies with Resurrection and that whole thing. It just wasn't really speaking to me. That being said, I think I'm gonna probably go. Oh, this is tricky.
It's tricky, eh?
A lot riding on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Might get
think
kicked
I.
off the cast if you don't
Yeah.
give the right number.
I think I might go 7.75 out of 10.
7.75. All right. There you go. Mr. Muss.
Yeah, this was a fun discussion. I feel like I got some questions answered, and came away a little more negative on some things and positive on other things I hadn't noticed. Overall, though, this is a really, really fun movie. I'm excited to rewatch it when it hits Disney Plus sometime down the road. I think I'm gonna give it a 8.7.
8.7 or
Nice.
not the 7.5,
Not
eh?
7.5, 8.7.
High 8.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Mr. Patzer.
Mr. Me. Yeah, I think through our discussion, similar to what Dylan said, I became more positive and then also more negative in different areas of the film. But for the most part, no, this was a fantastic film for me. And yeah, as I confusingly said it earlier, it's like it was disappointing in the scary level, but like also the opposite of whatever that would be. It was a nice pleasant surprise on like how much of the alienisms I was able to pull from this one. So maybe a surprise gem in that way. I don't know how else you would label this movie. It's just I guess a confusing conglomeration of a good time for me. So I definitely think I just can't wait to rewatch this movie, I think, and just jump back into this universe. And yeah, I think a lot riding on this, as we just said.
Yeah.
I think I'll do 9.3
Oh.
on this one. I don't know if I've ever given
Very
that
nice.
rating before, but it's a confusing rating because I kind of feel confused on how I feel overall on this one. But
Okay.
no, great time. Really, really good job. And I didn't really answer the question, but like, would I want a sequel of this? No, I don't think so. It's a great contained story in and of itself. I don't want this to be my last Alien movie by any means. Like seeing this, it's like, okay, they can do it. Like they can totally do a modern version of an older movie. Like even just, I didn't mention this earlier, but just even comparing like the tech to something like Prometheus or Covenant, like that's why it feels really far away from those movies in some weird way. Even those, they're older movies, but this one's based right after the first. Well, actually, Prometheus and Covenant is based before the first
Yeah.
Alien, so it's kind of weird the difference in
There
tech.
is some
I
weird,
guess in
like
that
there's some
sense.
really high tech like holograms and stuff in Prometheus that maybe
Yeah.
shouldn't be there. Honestly, in
Mm.
hindsight.
No, definitely. Yeah, it's funny to compare those, but yeah, no, great film. I had a fun time with it.
Yeah, just a solid. I think just 9 for me. Maybe I'll go like you guys. I'll go a 9.25 because I was never at a 10. But for when we started this review, I'm like the whole time, okay, it's 9.5, 9.5. And then I think when we start talking about like, oh, there's this, there's that, little things here and there. So that's where I feel like I'd need one more rewatch to solidify. Okay, is it 9.5 or 9? But that's where right now I'll go for a 9.5. It'd be like a 5. I'd say it'd be like a 4.5 out of 5 on the letterbox scale. So no, like I said, my expectations were met. I would still put like the 2013 Evil Dead above this for like what I love Fetty for the most. But this was a great addition. This is going to rank, I won't say where, but I think it'll rank pretty high when we get to the Alien rankings. And this to me is like I consider like a win. It's like a big win. So yeah, I'm very happy with this and see what happens after this. But I'm excited to rewatch it again in the future and add this to the collection. I feel, as I said before, that I don't watch all the Alien movies. There's certain ones I select to watch, and this will be one that I will go out of my way to select to watch in the future. So
Nice.
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. Like we said, next week we'll be back with some rankings to close off the Alien Retro, and we'll see where the chips lie. Where does this rank among the other ones? Tune to find out. Thank you to everyone that listened. Hope you enjoyed the review, the movie, all that good jazz. And when you hear from us next, it'll all be boring.